Last time on Project Prometheus, the AI fleet that attempted to confront our brand new shipyard was destroyed, with every single ship in the fleet being a total loss for Chatgpt by our very own fleet that came to meet the enemy fleet in the field from the shipyard. In today's episode of Project Prometheus, we have decided it is about time to launch a counterstrike against ChatGPT's bases. However, we know that ChatGPT's fortress is going to be heavily fortified, so this means we need a particularly capable ship. And now that our fleet is nearly complete, it's about time that we build a ship to stand as the flagship of it all. A ship that is a monument to human achievement and is at the very limit of what is possible in this game. This ship class will be called the DREADNOUGHT ship class. The DREADNOUGHT ship class is intended to be the cornerstone of any Project Prometheus fleet. These ships are completely massive, excessive in their armament, heavily armored, and act as the flagships and bases of operations of any fleet that is partaking in Project Prometheus. Not every fleet has to have a dreadnought, but every fleet that does is in a grade all its own. Dreadnoughts are designed to be virtually unsinkable ships that are centered in the midst of diverse battle groups. So you might see a dreadnought surrounded by battleships, destroyers, cruisers. And while dreadnoughts have extreme firepower and are able to take fleets on by themselves, every Project Prometheus fleet will only ever have a single dreadnought because of their astronomical cost and size. So without further ado, I got straight into the construction of my very own dreadnought. Now, for a couple of reasons, the dreadnought class is intended to be the last class constructed by any fleet. The reason for this is that a ship of this size and cost needs to employ effective cost-saving measures, strong main batteries, and great battle capabilities that you hopefully learn from building your other ships. So the final cost of the Wavebreaker dreadnought comes in just shy of the threshold at 1.75 million materials, dwarfing anything else in the fleet. The ship is a whopping 436 meters long, which is over 1,000 feet, with a width of 43 meters and a height of 62 meters. It has a total firepower of 1,130. The main bulk of that firepower coming from its main battery, which is composed of 3 APS cannons that are 4-barrel, 500 millimeter turrets, capable of firing a shot less than every 4 seconds. The secondary battery is composed of 236 millimeter rapid-fire HE cannons that I have dubbed chewers because they're intended to chew up the enemy ship once the main battery breaks through the armor. This ship took me somewhere between 3 and 4 hours to lay down, and then I spent an additional block of time testing it once it was built. But anyway, the Wavebreaker is the largest, most capable, and most formidable ship the human fleet will ever see. So everyone, here it is, the moment you have all been waiting for. This ship is in many ways the culmination of everything I have learned so far from Project Prometheus, and it is called the Wavebreaker. We have here a little freeze frame of almost every single one of the Wavebreaker's guns firing as it prepares to engage the remnant wreckage of the AI fleet that literally cannot fight back. This is more of a guns test than anything else for the Wavebreaker, but this ship is absolutely massive. It is incredible compared to, there's a Vanguard for scale. You can see that the hull is not a typical fast battleship hull. I went with more of the ironclad style hull on this one. The reason being, this ship is not intended to be fast. It is not intended to be elegant. It is intended to be heavy, armored, powerful. That is it. We made no sacrifices in that regard. The outer shell is lightweight alloy because it physically would not float otherwise, and using this many air pumps causes the game to lag catastrophically. Behind that outer shell is a layer of heavy armor that spans the entire ship. Every single turret is encased within a metal shell, and we used lightweight alloy to build bulkheads to separate different sections of the ship from potential penetration to keep it floating. In the front here we have our two of our 3 main battery guns. Again, these are 500 millimeter. They are insane. We'll get the specs on those in a minute, but they fire 500 millimeter AP heat shells every 4 to 5 seconds. And then we have our secondary batteries here, which are 236 millimeter HE shells. These things are really good at chewing through unarmored targets, whereas these are good at ripping through armored targets. The bridge is up here. We have our sensor tower, which is on the list for potential improvement. I'm not 100% happy with this just yet, so it may change. We then have 4 additional main batteries on the side, either side of the ship. And we actually borrowed some guns from the Barracuda. These have the express purpose of anti-air capability. So these are intended to take enemy planes out of the sky. And in addition to that, we have a very fast firing and powerful 40 millimeter octuple anti-aircraft battery. So in summary, this ship is basically within the rules of Project Prometheus. It is as many guns as I could fit on one ship, while still making my game not explode. There's actually an issue with this ship where if I use too many air pumps, I will get this like horrible stuttering in the game because it's trying to calculate the buoyancy that it should have like every couple seconds, and it's so big in the hull that it literally cannot keep up. So let's see how capable this thing is of tearing through these ships. Jeez. And again, so the ship itself is designed to sit deeper in the water to conceal the most vulnerable parts of the hull, but it is capable of dishing out an insane amount of firepower. We also have a Barracuda here helping us clean things up. But you can just watch as this ship gets shredded by 500 millimeter and 236 millimeter rounds coming from that absolute beast of a ship over here. So the goal with this ship is we have a shipyard, but this ship can be our mobile base. Oh, it seems to have blown up one of its own guns. Still needs some tweaking, but it's quite powerful. But yeah, we're going to use this as our mobile command center when we go on the offensive against Chatgpt, which we're going to be doing in the next few videos. The thing about Chatgpt's forces is that while it does have a bunch of fleets, we're also going to have to contend with Chatgpt's fortresses. So in today's video, we are going to intercept yet another Chatgpt fleet with our brand new Wavebreaker class ship at the helm. So you guys know what time it is. It is time for the famous Aquilae company sea trials. Now, since this is the biggest and baddest ship we've ever built, I figured we're going to turn it up to be the worst sea trials we've ever done on this channel. So this is the worst possible weather and the worst possible wave factor. Couldn't think of it for a second. So here we have the Wavebreaker sailing through the worst possible weather on the planet. And unsurprisingly, it is quite literally unfazed. Now, in the past, we've had ships that complete their sea trials successfully, and they do a great job. They mount the waves, they don't capsize, you know, they don't flip over. Maybe they do a submersion every once in a while. This ship is so long and wide that it is barely even bothered by the waves, and for the most part, it just continues sailing straight right along its path. For comparison's sake, I will spawn a Kerman class destroyer, the unfortunate butt of the joke in this series. Just so you guys can see the difference in size between these two ships and the difference in performance. Now, if you watch the video where we built the Kerman, you know that it is actually capable of flying. Look, it's gonna capsize. It's gonna capsize. I'm always making fun of this thing, but it's not. It's gonna get an award for the biggest disappointment of this series. Like, it's not even moving. Oh, there she goes. Meanwhile, the Wavebreaker remains almost perfectly level, again, in part because of its active roll control here on the sides, but also just because of its mass. And this makes it especially useful because in other environments like this, as you'll notice, I've given both of these ships the order to move forward. The Kerman is wallowing around, flipping over, generally failing at its job. Oh, it appears to think it's a submarine now. Good job, Kerman. And then the Wavebreaker, while it is moving slower than it would in smooth conditions, it is still capable of moving through these storms without a problem, which is a huge change in capability from any other ship in our fleet. The one thing about this ship is it is a little bit slow, but that's what you get when you line a ship with heavy armor the entire way throughout. The Kerman is leaping. How do you even do that, buddy? The Kerman is almost as much a plane as it is a boat. And here is the Wavebreaker cresting. Let's get a cool shot of this. So yeah, at a certain point, once the ships get big enough, and this is true in real life as well if you've ever been on a cruise ship or anything like that, the ocean just, it's not as pummeling. And again, for a size comparison, let's get the Jebediah in here. So there she is. These two ships are, I mean, there you go. You can see it for yourself. The Wavebreaker is the best ship we've ever built. I mean, the Jebediah is probably not the best. It gets away on sheer firepower alone. And meanwhile, the Kerman is once again leaping into the air. Oh, it just got struck by lightning. You okay, buddy? You okay? You alright? There she goes. You know, props to the ship for not capsizing. I expected it to capsize. It has not yet. See the Wavebreaker mounting a wave here. It is really close to hitting the Jebediah there. Like, I mean, just again, the Jebediah is supposed to be a battleship. The Wavebreaker is a dreadnought. And historically, dreadnoughts came before battleships, and they're not really like different size distinctions, but for the sake of the series, we're calling the Wavebreaker a dreadnought. But anyway, I've been rambling for far too long. The message here is that the Wavebreaker is incredibly seaworthy. It is pretty much impossible for it to capsize, unlike the Kerman, the Jebediah, or any other ship we've built. This ship is super seaworthy. So of course we're going to be moving against the Chatgpt armada that is somewhere near here very soon, but before we do that, it is prudent to test our new ships. So I have here the Wavebreaker, and in the distance I have just spawned the Iron Maiden. You can't see it yet because it hasn't spawned in. We're not even going to bother with Jacob's Treehouse on this one because it's just ridiculous at this point. But over here we have the Iron Maiden, and this will be a good benchmark and a good demonstration of just how powerful and survivable this ship is. So let's get on with it already. Here comes the first barrage. Slight miss. Holy cow. So the concept that went in to this ship, the idea is that the main battery, very similar to the Barracuda, destroys the armor and rips straight through to the center of the ship. Then the secondaries, which are not good at armor but are good at chewing up the soft bits, can destroy the remainder of the ship. And as you can see, it is extremely effective. The Iron Maiden is dead. That has got to be a record, actually. And I don't even think we took any damage. We took a couple hits here, nothing of note. Honestly, at this point, this ship's biggest problem is it blowing up its own turrets. Also, what you see down here is to help with the roll management on this ship. The problem with a ship this big and of this hull type is that when it turns, it tends to roll quite a bit. But anyway, I want to next test this thing against the Victoria, which is a slightly bigger battleship. But I think we're going to do quite well. So let's see. Let's watch the Victoria over here, shall we? Another thing the ship could use is lower detection equipment, because you'll notice it tends to aim very high. Jeez. Look at all those shells. It just tore right into the... It's like the armor doesn't even matter. This will be a true game changer in our war against the AI. I mean, this thing is completely unlike anything we've built so far. And the Victoria is down too. Wow, okay. Jeez, it just tore that thing up. And once again, no damage. Oh, actually, one of these turrets. Wow, okay. That blew up. I'm gonna have to fix that. I'm gonna say that was probably this ship shooting itself, because it has a problem with that. I'm working on azimuth constraints for the turrets, but haven't quite gotten there yet. So let's give this thing one more piece of meat to chew on. Let's see, what's a good... Maybe the Asphodel, sure. Let's spawn that in. Go to town, big fella. It is so cool to just watch it firing. And this ship stands no chance. Let's have a look at this plane here and see what happens. So, yeah, you'll see our AA batteries are working on the plane, and we've just damaged it enough that it's being sent back to its home ship. Meanwhile, the home ship is getting shredded by our guns. And even these missiles, if we go in close here, we have close-in weapon systems, which you can see right here. Those help with the missiles. It seems they're not quite strong enough to repulse these missiles, but missiles aren't even part of Project Prometheus. These are primarily intended for aircraft and slow-moving cram projectiles. But that ship stood no chance. It is destroyed. So, once again, the Wavebreaker has proven itself to be extremely capable. Now the question is, this ship is so powerful and expensive, the idea would be that it's at the center of a battle group. But because of the battle that we had in the last episode, most of our fleet is in the shipyard for repairs. However, we don't want to lose the momentum we got from our last victory. So we're going to try to send this thing in against the remaining AI armada that's between us and Chatgpt's fort, and we're going to see how it performs in a battle against multiple adversaries. So this is the AI fleet that we are up against today. This is very similar to the previous Chatgpt fleet, and the reason for that is because there are multiple of these fleets patrolling the ocean. The idea being that by taking each one of these out, the fortress that we're going to be attacking will be left mostly undefended. So, in the front, of course, we have the 4 Hurricane-class destroyers. If you don't remember from previous videos, these are primarily torpedo-armed destroyers that also have a simple casemated gun on the front and a minor AA battery, not very effective, just sort of a cursory armament. There's 4 of these. These are generally pretty easy to take out, but their torpedoes are a bit of a concern, as that's the only thing that we don't have a defense against. In the back here, for some reason underwater, we have 1, 2, 3 Vanguards, and also what looks like a Thunderclap class cruiser. Chatgpt has not really taken advantage of this cruiser very much. We haven't seen it too much in combat. One of the reasons for that is, while it is very powerful, it has a lot of firepower, it is not very survivable, which is a very big problem with Chatgpt ships, it seems. And as you can see, on the distant horizon there is the Wavebreaker. So again, for perspective, let's go out a little far here so we can kind of see how big these ships are compared to each other. You really get an idea of just how big the Wavebreaker is. So what we're going to do, my player character is aboard the Wavebreaker. We are going to break straight through this fleet if all goes well. And then that will be considered a perfect field test for this ship, and it opens up the AI fort to our attack. So without further ado, let's begin. We got to give our detection components a moment to get on target here and hope our ship doesn't shoot itself. Behave, ship. So, also with this size of battle, we are beginning to experience a good bit of lag. Oh, the ship has shot itself. But that's not a huge problem. Yeah, I'm gonna let that go. I could repair it, but I want this to be a fair fight, and it is my design, so I feel responsible for its, you know, its goodness, shall we say. One of the flaws about the ship that I haven't quite worked out just yet is because of the weight distribution, the bow of the ship sits a lot higher out of the water than the stern. Oh, looks like it shot its main battery. Why must you do this to yourself? Let's see how things are going for the AI fleet. So interestingly, it looks like it's not really targeting... I think it's targeting a Vanguard. It's hard to tell though. Yeah, it definitely is. Oh man, look at all those shells. Let's see, are we getting any hits on this ship here? Yep, a couple. We're missing a lot though, so that tells us we could use better detection. So let's tell it manually to target this ship. Oh, it's not even in combat mode. My bad. Typical captain problems. Okay, the Vanguard has speared one of the Hurricanes. Wow, that's like one of the most crippling places it could have been speared. Let's see, we got the incoming fire from the Wavebreaker. I keep wanting to call it Hammerhead. It's not. It is the Wavebreaker. Yeah, so we're starting to get hits in on the Vanguard, starting to get in striking range. It almost doesn't make sense to target these smaller ships with the battery that is on the Wavebreaker because it's so powerful. Like, let's just do an example. Tell it to target this Hurricane. The Hurricane will be absolutely shredded by this high caliber ammunition. And as you can see, one of the shells just blew the ammo reserve, so that Hurricane is out of the fight.
Engaging now.
And let's check in. Oh, man. Like a half a second worth of fire, and it's already just... Okay, it's decided to target this one. What's really cool about these AP heat rounds is that what happens, especially with these Hurricanes, is that you get a shell that pierces the front, as just happened here, pierces through the front of the ship, travels all the way to the rear, and then just completely destroys the ship. So that is 3 out of 4 Hurricanes crippled already. And let's have a look at our Wavebreaker here. I think the Wavebreaker is the only thing that has damaged itself. I don't think it's actually taken any damage from other ships. Yeah, it looks like moderate damage from torpedoes along the belt line, but nothing to be worried about. We still have plenty of guns operational here. Meanwhile, on this front, it looks like the Thunderclap is wisely staying far back from the fight. This Vanguard should be taking fire, although it looks like we're aiming way high. Is it targeting the Thunderclap? It must be. I have to work out exactly what the targeting procedure is like on this. So if we look at our battlefield here, we've got Thunderclap, 3 Vanguards, 4 Hurricanes. So, jeez, look at that thing. Okay, it's decided it wants to target this poor innocent hurricane. Can you imagine being the crew on this ship and just sailing into a hail of bullets? I mean, the bridge was literally just sawed off. And there goes the ammunition. Wow. I mean, yeah, that's what happens when you pit a ship with a million cost against a ship that is comparatively very cheap.
Engaging now.
What's also interesting is these vanguards don't seem to be moving, and I don't know if that is because their engines are crippled or what is going on with that. Yeah, this one doesn't seem to be operational. Interesting. Not sure why that's not functioning, but the pistons aren't firing, so that means that we're not getting any steam. The Wavebreaker continues to rain a hail of shells upon its enemies. Look at it taking on this vanguard here. So once again, I kind of learned from the Barracuda class cruiser, because that is one of I think our best builds so far. The combination of an armor-piercing main battery and an HE or frag secondary is extremely potent. Because as you can see here, what ends up happening is a ship's armor layer is just torn to pieces by the AP shells, and then once the HE shells get inside, it's over. That vanguard is disabled. And then, oh, it looks like this one's coming in close. It might be going for the ram. The Wavebreaker is prepared for that. It has a ramming bow. Worst comes to worst, this thing is designed to be either beached and used as a fortress, or it is designed to be rammed into enemy ships. Now, it appears that this vanguard has lost some of its critical detection components. Oh, okay. It got the mark now. And let's watch how these shells will just bounce off of the vanguard's surface. Or the Wavebreaker. So again, we take these hits here, but they aren't able to pierce the heavy armor belt. And we're getting a full broadside from the Wavebreaker against this vanguard. It is an absolute slaughter. I think it's actually shooting at the vanguard behind it, but it just so happens that this one got in the way. Oh, this thing is just getting destroyed. So let's... oh, jeez. Oh, has it actually killed it? Oh, it has. Wow. Okay. It's done so much damage to that vanguard that is actually being pulled out of play completely. And it looks like, besides the other two vanguards, both of which are crippled, the only remaining ship in this fleet is the Thunderclap class cruiser. And this ship, it appears, is confused. That is one of the downsides to the detection systems that I've been using, is that they're very easily crippled.
Engaging now.
Okay, let's see. So it's beginning to target the Thunderclap. Ooh, man. So, holy cow, and there goes the ammo stores. One of the key differences about the Thunderclap from a lot of its peer ships is that it has a metal hull. Not many of the ships in our fleet currently have a metal hull. But, I mean, this thing, it doesn't stand a chance. I mean, it never did. It's completely destroyed. I mean, at this point, it's basically just dead in the water. And, see, this vanguard is crippled. This one is still okay.
Engaging now.
We will tell it to engage that, but I mean, the Wavebreaker basically sailed up against a fleet of how many ships? 8 enemy ships, and just kind of broke right through them. And that is one of the reasons why it is named the Wavebreaker. We won't use this in every battle, because the loss of a ship this big would be a huge setback for our war effort. But in situations like this where we need to punch through an enemy armada, this is a perfect use case for this ship. This poor Hurricane never even got its chance to shine. We can watch the silhouette of the Wavebreaker on the horizon as the shells just come flying into combat here. I cannot imagine... Well, these ships don't have crew because they're AI ships. But if they did have crew, I cannot imagine what these people would be dealing with. Man, look at that volley. We could definitely still improve our detection, I think. This Vanguard is... Does it still have its ammo? Oh, it does. It actually... No, it doesn't. It does not. So I will say this. Almost all of the ships that I have built, especially the ones that were earlier in the series, need serious attention. I mean, a lot of them have fatal flaws. The Vanguard, even after the refit, is almost embarrassingly bad now. Because I realize... For one thing, I realize how funky the hull is, but for another thing, a one well-placed shot in the Vanguard can destroy its ammo reserves, which completely renders it useless. And the use of casemates and simple weapons all over the ship is extremely inefficient. So what we're probably going to do at the end of this series is we're going to do a full-scale refit and examination of every ship that I built, both in the human fleet and the AI fleet, and we're going to see what did we learn, why are these ships bad, and how can we improve them in the future. So, looking at the combat map, there are only 3 enemy AI ships left in this fleet, 2 Hurricanes and 1 Vanguard. The others have been completely destroyed. None of these ships are capable of fighting back. While this one still has intact AI, it is a little bit confused and is not actually capable of firing because it has no ammo. This ship is crippled for the same reasons, and this Hurricane out here, I mean, I don't even want to know how badly this guy's messed up. Yeah, engine room destroyed, ammunition blown up, basically capsizing. We are going to call that a resounding victory for the Wavebreaker. So this ship is the biggest and the baddest that we have yet built. But what's going to likely happen is that the AI will design its own Dreadnought class ship, and we can only expect that such a ship will be almost as powerful, if not more so, than our Wavebreaker. However, our sights are still set on the AI's fort, and we still have not confirmed what the reports of a massive enemy ship were. So only time will tell if the Wavebreaker will remain the undisputed master of these seas. But that is going to do it for this episode of Project Prometheus. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. This is by far the biggest build I have ever undertaken. This ship is nothing short of massive. I know people have probably built bigger and much better things, and it is still very flawed. I want to be clear, my ships are not perfect, and I hope that you all can learn from my building and my mistakes that I make, but I think we took the Barracuda class, which was very effective. We took a lot of the same principles that applied to that, and we applied them to this. And I think that we succeeded. I mean, granted, this ship has no peer as of right now, but it holds its own very well against a fleet of enemies. In the next episode of Project Prometheus, the war is going to continue to escalate, and now that we have so many ships built, you guys can expect a lot more combat in each episode. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.